I'm Ryan from Prima, and this is the Ditting 807 Lab Sweet ESP. Designed in collaboration between Prima and SWORKSDESIGN, the 807 Lab Sweet ESP is a commercial, single-dose grinder optimized for both espresso and filter coffee. The ESP is built on the same 80mm cast burr platform as the Lab Sweet retail grinder, but substitutes a low-profile 20-gram hopper and a spring-loaded portafilter fork for the 1-pound hopper, folding platform, and steel grounds cup, further optimizing this grinder for single-dose espresso grinding and pour-over. Just like the Lab Sweet retail, this grinder features a stepless grind adjustment with a range of approximately 100 to 1200 microns. It also has 2 internal active cooling fans and the same motor from the Mahlkönig E80 Supreme espresso grinder to handle consecutive short grind cycles. An electronic on-off switch with a 10-minute auto-off timer is also there, and a knocker and bag clamp built into the chute. And of course, the ESP also includes the Lab Sweet Retail's iconic 80mm cast steel burr set, known to create espresso and filter coffee with a dense body and syrupy sweetness that give this grinder its name. Our vision for the Lab Sweet ESP was to optimize the grinder for anyone who isn't using it to grind more than 20 grams of coffee at a time. The first thing you'll notice is the height has been cut down from 21 inches to 16 5/8. Just over 4 inches were cut off the top of this plate-style hopper, allowing it to fit under most kitchen cabinets. This hopper is made from a super heavy and rigid plastic called POM or acetal, and it includes an aluminum lid with 3 magnets press fit into the underside. You'll notice that the flapper is exposed, which, if you're unfamiliar, is just a silicone piece intended to regulate the flow of grounds from the burr chamber and reduce spraying of the grounds. It needs to be quickly wiped off every now and then, and we felt it would be nice to have it exposed for quick removal instead of having to remove the screws and remove the short hopper. Another interesting feature built in is this silicone gasket on the underside of the hopper, which helps to create a seal and directs airflow through the burr chamber and out the chute when using the included bellows. To use the bellows, just remove the lid and slip it over the funnel. You can use the included aluminum lid, or you can just seal the bellow with your hand. You don't even have to remove the bellows if you don't want to, but it's easily installed if you prefer the look of the hopper and the metal lid alone. Let's talk a bit about how retention and output variance has improved in the Lab Sweet ESP with the addition of this hardware. If you load in 18 grams of coffee beans and follow that with 3 or 4 flushes of air, followed by a knock of the chute or 2, the output variance will be within 0.1 to 0.3 grams, depending on the coffee and if you use an RDT protocol, which is just the weight of a few coffee beans. Keep in mind that the grinder will retain at least 3 or 4 grams in total, and this range of dosing variance won't be reached until the grinder has reached full retainment after a few cycles when you're first getting started. This means that the ESP is primarily optimized for commercial environments where many doses are being ground per day, but this platform also works well in a home environment as long as you're willing to purge a few beans in the morning and after grind size changes. The next new piece of hardware is the SWORKSDESIGN spring-loaded portafilter fork. This fork is designed to attach to the existing T-rail on the 807 Lab Sweet and 807 filter grinders, allowing infinite vertical adjustability to accommodate any combination of portafilters and funnels. In addition to vertical adjustment, the width can also be adjusted to accommodate any size and shape of portafilter imaginable, including asymmetrical portafilters like the one here. In addition to holding portafilters, this fork also works really well with Acaia's 58mm steel dosing cup. You can use this cup to dose for pour over, and because it's the same diameter as a commercial portafilter, you can also use it to dose your grounds into a basket for espresso if you like. Combined with the ESP's huge grind range, this fork makes the Lab Sweet ESP a true multi-purpose grinder able to handle small doses for any application. As a side note, if you prefer a high clarity cup profile similar to the Mahlkönig EK43, let us know and we can swap in the standard Ditting 807 high clarity burrs for you. If you already have an 807 Lab Sweet or an 807 filter grinder, the ESP's hardware is sold separately and can be retrofitted onto the grinder. click the link above me to learn more about installing that kit. So let's grind a couple doses of coffee. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and dose for 20 grams at about 700 microns for a V60. Right now, I've got a portafilter and funnel in here, so the height of the fork is set so that this is almost touching the chute, just to get rid of any airspace between there. So if you grind into the Acaia catch cup at this height, there's a little bit of space. You can do it. It basically just causes a little bit of a chaffy mess. I am going to move the fork up towards the chute just to optimize this and create as less of a mess as possible. There's just one flathead screw here, and we can lift this straight up and then put the cup on and then just lift it until it almost touches. Pull it out and then retighten the screw, just like that. Now we're all set for dosing for filter coffee, okay? So I'm gonna use an RDT protocol today. That helps mitigate static and some of the retention. All right, so let's weigh that. I have 20.2 grams. You wanna look at that? After my RDT. So now let's grind and see what our output variance is. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the magnetic lid. We're gonna slip on the bellows right over the funnel like that. Now, if you wanna start from a hot start, obviously you wouldn't wanna dose into the Acaia cup. You'd need something else. For the purpose of this video today, I'm gonna do a cold start and just use the Acaia cup for dosing. Okay, here we go. Make sure everything's out of there. All right, let's see what we got. All right, 20 grams. So that's a loss of 0.01 or 0.2 grams, which is great. Especially if you use that RDT protocol, use the bellows and the knocker. This grinder retains an impressively low amount for a horizontally mounted commercial grinder. Okay, so next, let's dose for espresso. Dose in the portafilter, and I'll taste some espresso and just tell you how it's tasting with this 80 millimeter cast steel set. All right, so I've measured out 16.6 grams. We'll RDT that in a second. I'm gonna turn this down to my espresso setting, which is about 1.8, okay? And because we're switching between two extreme grind size changes, I'm gonna purge out a good 10, 15 grams just to flush it out of any coarse grounds. Great. So now we're ready to grind. Let's do a quick RDT and see what our weight is. Okay, so for espresso, we've got 16.6 grams. Let's see what we get after grinding. So again, I'm gonna do a cold start here. Okay, let's see what we got. 16.4 grams. So that's a loss of just about 0.2 grams again. So pretty consistent across espresso and filter, about 0.1 to 0.2 if you're using RDT, sometimes a little bit more if you're not using RDT. All right, so let's go ahead and do this again, but use a portafilter to dose. So I'll just show you. All I need to do is move the fork down a little bit. Add this in here. This is an asymmetrical portafilter, which is why it looks kind of offset. Just like that. And then we'll retighten it. Okay. So we'll put this back in. We'll just leave that there. Okay, here we go. set. Give this a nice WDT. And tamp. All right, let's see how this tastes. Sweet. 38 out. Let's stir this and give it a taste. The cast 80mm set really gives you the best of both worlds between a very modern tasting profile, which is clean, indicative of, you know, high unimodality here. But this Burr set also creates an amount of fines that's just perfect to contribute to a dense body. And for whatever reason, this Burr set always tastes somehow a little bit sweeter. And it could be because of the extra body kind of coating your tongue. It's hard to say, but more than other grinders, it tends to mute back sweetness just a little, or acidity rather, just a little bit, create a round, heavy, and really just a sweeter espresso than most other Burrs can. It's awesome. All right, that is the Ditting 807 Lab Sweet ESP single dosing commercial espresso grinder. Check it out at primacoffee.com and let me know if you have any questions about it. Cheers.